Welcome back, mathematicians. This time we're going to talk about two things, actually, the focus and directrix. So this kind of aligns with the kind of anatomy of our parabola in the sense that I took a look at things like the vertex and the axis of symmetry, and actually we're going to use some of those things to figure out this focus and directrix. Okay, and then afterward I'll talk about why it might be important to us. Okay, so let's first of all graph this guy out. All right, so um, give me just a moment here and I'll graph it out. This is going to be -3. +4. 1, Okay, so we have a rough sketch of our graph. Now I'm going to put in some of those things that we need, like the axis of symmetry is going to be right here. So my vertex is going to be at, and of course, I'll put a negative in here just so it would fit in the graph, for example, but our vertex is going to be at +3, which is opposite this one, +4, and we go in the negative direction. So what I want to do is I'm going to, someplace in this area is going to be our focus, and someplace on that side is going to be our directrix. And what's special about that relationship is that between any point on this graph and our focus, that distance and the distance between that same point on the graph and our directrix are going to be exactly the same, okay? And you can see more examples of that in the book, but for now, I'm going to get to the math part of it, right? So our axis of symmetry is going to be x is equal to 3, right? Matches there. Okay, so far so good. Put dots here. So what I want is, I want to talk about the parts of this function, right? So our vertex form in general is going to be ax minus h squared plus plus a k, right? So in this case, our a is equal to negative 1/2. Our h is equal to 3 now, not negative 3. And this is a negative in its form, and so this point is just going to be 3. And then our k is going to be 4 in this case. So our focus comes directly from that, okay? So our focus for this graph is going to be h comma k minus p. And I'm also going to put it right here, another equation. For that ratio p, I guess you can call it, is going to be 1 over 4a, okay? So that's how I'm going to find p, and that's how I'm going to find my focus. So in this case, my focus, let's do it. Oops. Okay. So our focus, let's do it in purple, why not? Our focus in this case, let's try it, is going to be p is equal to 1 over 4a. In this case, it's negative 1/2. Okay. So on the bottom side, I'll have negative 4 over 2 or negative 2. So that means our focus is at negative 1/2. Okay, not a problem. So that means, let's see, let's get our black pen back out here. So that means our focus is going to be, again, our h term is 3, so 3 comma k, in this case it's 4 minus 1/2, or minus negative 1/2, okay? So that's going to be 3 comma 4 and a half. Let's call it 4.5. Sorry, our other formula is going to be p is equal to the absolute value of oops, 1 over 4a. So I'm going to take the absolute value of this guy. So a again is negative 1/2. It gives me, if you work this out, so 4, it's going to be negative 4 over 2, which is going to be negative 2, 1/2. So that's going to be 1/2. And if we do that, our focus is going to be h, which is 3 again, right? This part right here is 3 in our equation. And then k is 4. And we're going to minus 1/2 from that. So our focus is going to be 3 and then 3.5. I'm going to call that 3.5. So 3.5 is going to be right about here. In fact, let's just change colors here. Our focus is going to be right about there. Okay, sorry it's not more clear, but limitations of technology. Oops, let's undo that for a second. All right. Okay, so that's going to be our focus. If we want to talk about our directrix is going to be exactly, since we're talking about the axis of symmetry, it makes things real easy when we're talking about distance, right? So if this is a half of a unit down, the directrix is going to be half of a unit up. So my directrix is, oops, my directrix is right about there. So I'm going to scroll down a bit. Again, my directrix is going to be that y value. So y is equal to 1/2 more. So 4 plus a half. I'm going to call that 4.5. So that is my directrix. It's 4.5 0.5. This is my focus, and there you go. Okay, so this is kind of the anatomy of our video, or our parabolas. Stay tuned for the next series.